Hey everyone, well this is Melissa with what I'm calling my Blue Pumpkin Blooper. I had been inspired by an acrylic painting I did last year and pulling on some of the watercolor colors in our fall palette. And you know, it didn't quite turn out like I wanted it to. I'm going to keep playing with this, but it was really fun to pull out that gold pen and to watch some of those colors collide. We're actually going to use some of these colors to paint some gorgeous fall flowers next week that do turn out really, really beautifully. But this is a wonderful way to just play with color and, you know what, learn from when art doesn't quite turn out like we wanted. Enjoy. All right, so we are back. I've got my clean water. We're ready to go. Now we have to decide what colors we're going to use. And I think because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be playing off those colors inspired by the hydrangea last week. And so I'm going to be using that magenta, the purple, the blue. You can see where that green has gotten a little bit in here. Not a big deal. You can see that green blends actually really, really nice. But we're going to go ahead. I'm going to move this to the side. And we're going to start using our colors just to create a really, really gorgeous, a little bit of a non-traditional pumpkin. So I'm going to pull down that cerulean, or I'm sorry, that phthalo blue, and I'm going to kind of start going right over some of my crevices and in some of the bends or the ridges of the gold pen. And you'll notice too, what's really fun is it kind of pops off. The gold pen, depending on what kind of gold pen, how much ink is released. The inkier it is, it usually really pops nicely, which I love. I'm going to come right over here as well. We want to make sure we're leaving some white space, right, to where if you have a pumpkin, you know, kind of see where's the sun shining off of it. So we're going to pretend that maybe it's shining off a little bit more here. We're going to have more shadowing on this side. I'm going to have some more white over here. The idea too is I want the colors to blend and sing, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my magenta while everything is still nice and wet, and I'm going to let it lean in on some of the areas, but then leave in some white, and we're just going to keep painting. If you want to grab a bigger brush, you certainly can. Here I can grab, if you grab really big, it will definitely be faster to paint, and that can be that can be fun for sure. So we're going to pull in, again, leaving some white, but you just have to be careful because you don't have as much control on it with a bigger brush on the smaller piece of paper. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to come right over here with this guy as well. Now I do want this to end up really kind of seeming like it's not a clown, right? We want it to be all together. So I don't want it to look like there's stripes. So I'm going to take that blue, or you can even take some water, and bring this around. I'm going to take this other blue. One of the things that's different with watercolor, it's more challenging to get the texture look that you can with acrylic. So one of the ways I do that is really paying attention to shadowing. So up here where you might see the ridges and that kind of almost that fatness of the pumpkin, making sure this is more filled up, but we leave it nice and dark in here, even as I'm coming out with that. That's going to help with some of our creating that texture or that sense of roundness, even down here as well. Really letting the paintbrush eat up quite a lot of paint and coming in and moving it around and letting that mauve and blue mix together. Now for some extra color, I am going to grab some of that ultramarine, or that, I'm sorry, the French ultramarine blue, and I'm going to come down here and just add that in. This is going to shake things up just a little bit, and it's getting a little bit too dry down here, so I do want to come back up and just move this around, letting that come over here, bringing that up. Now we will most likely go over it again with this additional paint, that paint pen, to create that beautiful sense of texture. That's going to help with the texture too. So once again though, we're just moving this right along and leaving more white over here because that's where that light is shining. Okay. So once I have this, I've got that basic outline done of the beautiful pumpkin, our beautiful blue pumpkin. Let's go ahead and grab some brown. And it doesn't matter whether you like the lighter brown or the darker brown, they're both going to look nice. I am going to go ahead and just put almost lines in here. I know it's going to soak up a little bit of that blue paint and put a top on. Okay, that looks really good. Now I want to bring some of that brown down here as well. I know my paint might start moving around a bit. I'm going to actually use the pen to create that sense of it being on the ground. And I'm just eyeballing this. I really probably should have used a ruler, but that's okay. So now that I have that down there, I'm going to add some water, that same color brown, whether you use the raw umber or the other kind, and then get super close underneath your pumpkin. And yep, it's going to bleed a little bit. That's okay. We're going to create that shadow. And then let that shadow kind of come on down and moving. Again, if the sun is coming down here, we're actually going to have more of a shadow hitting over here, right? So making sure we're moving more of that color right down here. And I'm going to get a little bit more brown and just let that brown sit in here. Again, moving over to where that shadow would actually go. And if you went the wrong direction with your shadow, like I started to at first, not a big deal. Just come back over here and we'll just clean it off just like this. Now this is looking nice. It does look a bit unfinished, but that's okay. We are definitely looking to create some more texture, right? We're probably going to want to let it dry though before we add any more paint because this is pretty saturated. So let's go ahead and let it dry and then I'll come back. We'll add some more paint and then we'll add some other fun elements. Hey everyone, well we are back, and okay, so if your painting is not popping like you want, this is where it gets fun. So I had that Craft Smart that I originally used, but then I pulled out my Deco Color, and I have to say the quality of your paint pen really does make a difference. So in acrylic, I had used actual gold paint, which works really well with acrylic, but over here on the watercolor, we're going to try the Deco Color. It actually has just a little bit more pop and it bounces off of the page. So I'm going to do my circle to show that top of my pumpkin. It also smells, boy, does it smell like paint, believe you me. But if you want to start adding some more lines in, we're going to do another layer. We're going to also add some splatters. 'Tis the season for lots of splattering, at least in my world right now. So I'm just going to really have fun adding this in. Now we're not doing quote art today, but if you wanted to take a quote, you could certainly do that and almost write it over here along the lines of the pumpkin. Just an idea, depending on what you're going to do with your art. Maybe you're using this as a journal page. That would really be cute. All right, just adding this in, and then I'm going to add the bottom. Now remember, on the bottoms of our pumpkins, they're not perfectly round. They actually go up a bit if you look at them, and we're going to come on in here. I always find that it's really when I'm coming in and doing some of this detail work that things really start to pop, and I love that. Okay, so now we're going to come back in, and I'm actually going to take some gamboge, and we're going to go around the back a little bit with the gamboge. Yeah, I know. I think I'm going to use that gamboge this time. And I am going to start really loosely, just moving this around. I want the pumpkin to pop, and so the gamboge has that gold tinge to it, right? Isn't that pretty? We're working on making this pumpkin just pop really beautifully. Moving back here, adding a little bit more water if you feels like it's too thick. I almost want it not quite a wash, but a little bit of a wash. You'll find that this gold paint from the Deco Paint tends to repel the watercolor, which is fun. It really helps it so it bounces off. I'm going to just move over here. I'm not going to put quite so much light over here, so I'm making it more watery purposefully because I want my eye to kind of move around the painting. And that is fun, right? It's fun. It has a bit of a pop. Now I'm going to add that gamboge in. And I thought, you know what? We're just going to put a little bit in the stem. I'm going to come back over here. I'm actually going to put some color right in here where we had that white, as if it is reflecting off of the light. Okay, that looks really fun. I'm going to come back with my cerulean blue, and I'm just going to bounce it off. And you can see how it is bouncing off the gold. It is not covering the gold. Isn't that interesting? In fact, the gold pops up a little bit more, which is really fun. Now it's really starting to pop. See, we thought it was going to be a mess, but no. No messes here. All right, I'm just bringing that blue down. And I'm really not going to add too much more magenta. That's really going to be almost that secondary color. It's doing its job for sure. I might add just a little bit here. But I'm really loving that blue. And now that we have that gamboge in there too, so I'm just going to add, again, just a little bit of magenta in here, but not tons. And this is fun too. What color combinations might you come up with that are off the beaten path from the traditional orange? Okay, moving this down. And I want a little bit more over here just to show the shadowing. That looks really, really nice. Okay, I think that's absolutely lovely. Now I am going to rinse that out, grab my brown, and just take the brown and where it wasn't, just do a wash over the whole thing. That way we have the shadow. That part's still darker, but the brown is covering it everywhere. Take a little bit more brown, go up here, over the pumpkin stem, and yep, it's repelling it, but that's okay. That looks lovely. That looks really, really nice. Okay, there's not too much that I want to do with this now. I'm going to let that go, and what a change that made, right? From where we started to finishing up. You can really see that pop happening now. I hope you love that, and you can do this with a lot of different colors with that gold pen. So many different color combinations. Okay, now on this one I had really gone all blue, and you can certainly do that. We could have added blue back here, but again, just for the sake of making it pop a bit. And then it's fun too. I'm going to go ahead and take off this paper so you can go ahead and see too, as it starts to pop, as you have that frame. It's a bit wet, and normally I like dry, but we're going to just do something a little bit different today. Next week we're going to be doing something fun and functional. Again, coming on the little bit of the behind the scenes of what I like to do. I certainly talked about it before. I'm not sure if we've done it on the YouTube though. Okay, but that looks really nice. This is really cute. I could stick this in a journal, put it in a frame to have around the apartment somewhere. Happy fall, everyone. I'm going to see you next week.